All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Gonna be touching on the top prop bets today on both PrizePicks and Underdog. Let's go and get into it. All right, so looking at today's slate, we are getting some pretty good props right away across the various sports, but specifically for NHL, we got really two solid props that I think we should go ahead and make as prop bets. You know, typically speaking, EV-wise, we're not getting NHL prop bets. I spent a decent amount of time throughout last week saying because we don't have NBA going on right now, we're really not going to get that many good NHL props, and that is what occurred. And right now, we are getting some pretty good NHL props, so I'm perfectly fine to run these first two out for their over shots on goal. Those, to me, are two that stand out. From there, we're not going to see as many big edges, but we are going to see that some of the best prop bets today are going to be in NHL. I do want to jump into some NBA. I already did an NBA video, but let's go ahead and touch on the best prop bets currently in the NBA. And so looking at right now, we are going to see some of the best prop bets that we are getting is actually going to be fantasy score as well. So like, no shock there. That's typically what happens. We got Halburn for over his fantasy score. Now that to me seems too high. We are getting some fantasy score prop bets, and to me, the ones that stuck out were Fontecchio, who recently got traded to Detroit, and he is someone that's going to get a plethora of minutes. I personally think that this is just too low for him if he is going to be playing that amount of minutes. Now the data doesn't like it. Jalen Duren, sure. Andrew Nembhard, if you guys watched yesterday's video, you saw that his points prop got bumped a little bit. I still think if he's going to be getting us 30 or so minutes in this game with Aaron Naismith out, with Jalen Smith out, I think he's a good option for us. Jaden Ivey, we don't know his minutes, but more times than not, if he is going to get a lot of run, and if this game is going to be that high scoring, I don't mind that. So that's my long way of saying I don't mind stacking this game, but we're going to see that the two best prop bets that we are getting in this game are going to be for Halburn for over his fantasy score. He does get a good matchup. I do expect him to be, coming out ready to fire. And then same thing with Cade Cunningham. We're seeing his over fantasy score. Again, this game's going to be higher scoring. I think that's why we are seeing those two specific prop bets for fantasy score pop up, but we are getting some pretty good EV bet. We're going to see Andre Drummond here for specifically Underdog. That's a good underdog bet right now. Okay, it's probably going to get changed. Don't get me wrong. Going to get bumped down to 20, but even there, it is still a pretty good EV bet that we are getting. We got Kyrie for over his rebounds at 4.5 on PrizePicks. That is a good prop bet there. And then it kind of becomes not as good. I am interested to see what the other fantasy score prop bets are going to be for NBA, but let's go ahead and jump on into some college basketball props. And so for college basketball, we are getting a decent edge with some of these prop bets. Again, I mean, it seems to be lather, rinse, repeat. Now, I think I kind of jinxed ourselves with the underdog slip. I was complaining about, like 5 straight days of having an insured slip hit, complaining about profit, and then it was kind of expected that it was going to occur. Terrible day underdog-wise for the bet of the day. Now, I did give out 4 separate slips, and I only counted 2. I kind of made that clear for the bet of the day record, but one of the 4 slips I gave you guys did hit. So if you guys used it, you did profit. If you used all 4, you did profit. But yeah, no shock there that eventually is going to be some regression. Okay, but also I do want to call it that is kind of how college basketball goes. It's that because it's more difficult for the sports books to be accurate on it because of all the weird nuances, some days are going to be really great days on Underdog or on PrizePicks. Obviously they have some different discrepancies, but not every sports book kind of gets different lines. And so that's why there are going to be good days and bad days. That's typically what happens. So right now we are seeing for Dante here for under fantasy score on Underdog, it's not the best simply because the projection data likes it at 39.1. So there is a little bit of discrepancies there. Still, it does rank out as one of the better prop bets. We could run that out. I'd be fine with it. We have another one here for Tyson for under his fantasy score. That's seemingly a good one. Not a great one though. That's the thing I want to call it. Right now for college basketball, we really aren't getting any great prop bets. The funny thing about college basketball yesterday is that the EV bets that we're getting, just the pure EV bets, not fantasy score included, did pretty well. But yeah, it's just not that big of an edge right now. I'll take a peek at Underdog. And so kind of as normal, we are getting some better edges, it does seem like, on Underdog, specifically for fantasy score. That is just the norm that we have gotten here. It's that Underdog typically higher in terms of their evaluation for these players than the average sportsbook line, than typically the projection data. That has just become the norm. So again, I will be running out a flex slip bet. Maybe not for Dante, even though the data really likes it. Again, just because that projection data, okay, vastly over the line. Maybe that does scare me off a little bit. But these other ones where, Payne for under fantasy score, Boswell for under fantasy score, Spencer Jones under fantasy score. Those are all ones where the data is pretty much saying the exact same thing, so I'm fine running those out for the under fantasy score. Those seem to be pretty good ones. It is crazy for underdog. I want to see if we are getting any over fantasy score ones, and we're just not. It's just crazy how much they typically overvalue compared to like PrizePicks and just the average sportsbook line. And then I did already mention these hockey props. I just want to call those out again for anyone that wants to roll with those. By all means, go for it. But I do also want to call out some PGA props that we are getting. So right now the tournament is going on. It's taking place right now as I'm doing this video, and I want to call out that the tournament, the first few holes did start out like over par for some players, and so right now the lines that we are getting for these golfers, they seem to be wrong in a way because they corrected for the early scoring that was more difficult, and now we're seeing the golfers that were expected to play well, they are playing well. And so I know the data here is saying 52% chance for the over on these sites. I actually don't mind the idea of running out the under for Jaeger, for running out the under for Dietrich as well, given the fact that now the course is starting to play easier as these golfers start to get into their round. So I did want to call that out, and the good golfers are starting to play better as well. Tony Finau as an example, he's -1, probably wanted a little bit better, but it is starting to play a little bit easier. So I would start to want to bet the unders, I think, because it's not that much. The course is a par 71 this week. And so with that, going back to the leaderboard here, these golfers to get to 3 under par, that shouldn't be too bad for some of those bigger name players. I'm just going to pull up Justin Suh here. We're going to see on the back nine, they have 3 par 5s. And so once a lot of those golfers start to get to those par 5s, I think we're going to see the numbers drop a little bit. So I do think there's a little bit of a stack and opportunity there. So with that, covered the slate pretty well. Let's go on and get into the bet of the day today. All right, so let's start out with the PrizePicks bet of the day. I'm just going to keep it simple. We got 2 bets here. We're going to take the good EV bet that we have for NHL. That one was still available. I have no idea if that's still going to be available by the time you guys watch this video. That's kind of the unfortunate side of doing the props betting videos. That's why I typically like to run out the fantasy scores. Now, it does suck. I was going to run out the Tyrese Halliburton one for fantasy score. That ended up getting bumped one. So now it's at 46 instead of 45. Still an okay bet. You can still run that out, but just going to run with Cade Cunningham then on the opposite end of that. Again, it's crazy. We have so many sports. You would think there would be bigger edges, and I do think that there will be, but I just think I'm doing this video a little bit too early for the PrizePicks edges to really be there. Let's show you guys the underdog bet. And yes, I won't complain if this one goes 4 for 5 and hits as an insured slip again. I don't want to jinx it again. But I do like these prop bets. There's a little bit of optimism that, yesterday, bad day for the 5 slip, insured slip on underdog. Hopefully it bounces back again today. But, really, the expectation, probably 3 for 5, But fingers are crossed that we can finally cash a full slip for this as well. Kind of a tighter day, honestly, than I thought it would be. So hopefully tomorrow, Flex Friday, we can go ahead and get some better prop bets. Again, if you guys want to use that underdog slip and you never sign up for underdog, just use the promo code 905. That'll kick back some money my way to the channel. It's just an easy way to support the channel. That's going to be all for today's video. If you guys want access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 905sports.com. They're available for just $10 a month. Thank you guys for watching. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.